Have you ever heard the most common phrase ever been utilized in the pop culture industry? Movies are all subjective. That there are no objective criterias in which a movie is judged? Well, I'm here to tell you that a phrase, however dramatic I might have put it, like this one, is absolutely false. In fact, and I'm going to say it on purpose to tick you off, because my very goal, if you're tuning into this podcast, is to tick you off and spark a dialogue. So I'm sorry, not sorry, for what I'm about to say. But listen, the people who make the assertion that movies are all subjective, in case you didn't hear that for the first time, are saying it because they want to compensate for their laziness and cinema illiteracy. The way that I'm putting it is harsh, I know, but it's true. An article published by the Express Elevator to Hell puts it best, and I quote, this isn't coming from me, it's coming from them. Claiming that film content and cinematic quality are subjective is the lamest, laziest, most cop-out answer one can make in film criticism. Similar to how people of faith propose to explain away the existence of a higher power by saying God works in mysterious ways. Allegations of film subjectivity are worse than a bad or nonsensical argument against or for a particular film. It is not even an argument, it is a non-answer, a half-hearted, throw your hands up in the air strawman defense for people too lazy or ignorant to defend their position. If movies really are subjective and free from all criticism, then none of this matters. Film theory, film craft, film narrative, film academia, characterizations, none of it is worth anything. And I'm not going to read the whole article, obviously, but that's essentially the essence of the Express Elevator to Hell's input on the subject. Alright, so based on that quote from the article, I'm going to weigh in on this philosophy with my own thoughts this time. There is a key component to why I myself think that movies are not all subjective. And that key component is movies are not all subjective. The key word is all. I'm not saying that movies are not subjective at all. I'm saying movies are not all subjective. I think it's very important to make the distinction because misunderstanding a statement like that can mean an entirely different, tangent. I could literally be saying movies are objective, full stop. And, that's not really fair. But I will say once more, movies are not all subjective. Which means that, yes, you can have a subjective take on a movie if the film that you're reviewing covers, let's say, a topic about social issues. Then yeah, that movie can't be subjective because one movie can be promoting gun control while another movie might advocate for, the Second Amendment. And I don't want to cross a sensitive line here, but a topic like that, I can understand why that is deemed as subjective. Because the world around us, for the most part, ain't black and white. So if a film covers a certain, topic or issue, then it's like, that perhaps could be up to subjective interpretation. However, all of that won't matter if a movie doesn't adhere to the cinematic quality that is acceptable in the film industry. Would a theatrical chain allow you to distribute a 30-minute video of a cat taking a shit on the front porch and chasing a laser on loop? Of course not. That is what I mean whenever I say that a film is not subjective. Because let's face it, anything can be a film. A film is defined as a moving picture. So, let me tell you about something. And it's kind of, we're leaning in towards trivia. The first ever motion picture was of a horse moving. That's it. Nothing more. Nothing less. Now, that is a film. That doesn't mean, however, you can just call it a good film. And no one would dare say that, that motion picture of a horse moving is better than, let's say, The Godfather or Lord of the Rings. By the way, I'm going to be covering that at some point here on the Cinema Courtroom. But anyway, Do you get what I'm saying? Like, it's still a movie, but a low quality one. Like, in order for a movie to have a subjective take on it, it must first meet every single objective criteria that makes the movie worthy of discourse among movie pundits to begin with. And then, and only then, can you look at something like Star Wars A New Hope and have a subjective take on whether or not they should have let Obi-Wan live, for instance. Until the movie has passed the metric of cinematic quality, being edited in a way where not a single clip can be arranged in an imprecise order, and the camera has to capture exactly what it needs to in order to convey the scene in a manner that it was intended by the screenplay and director's vision. Until a movie passes all of those fundamental things in order to be deemed worthy by the cinema industry gods, then the film is objectively bad. It is as simple as that. This, ladies and gents, is my closing argument to why movies are not all subjective. I now invite all of the awesome listeners, which is the only thing I've said in this podcast that isn't subjective, because you are all objectively awesome, to this podcast to agree or share a counter argument to my points of why cinema is not all subjective in the comment section below, or our Twitter inbox at Cinema Courtroom.